By now, it's clear that summer is here. Warm days, bees buzzing, hot dogs and lemonade, and here in the Prose Garden, great writing is in full bloom. I'm Francine Witte, your host in New York City, and Meg Pokrass is our host in the UK. Today, Meg and I want to welcome you to the Prose Garden with a bouquet of writers we are proud to present to you. So settle in, grab a nice cool drink, and enjoy the readings today. Meg and I like to start each of us with a reading just to kind of get things going. So keeping in summer theme, I'm going to read my piece called In the Pool at the La La Motel. In the deep end, where Charlie told me to wait, holding a Mai Tai maybe, something with a bit of sass. Our honeymoon, it was. The night before the wedding, and Charlie pacing the floor. I called my Florida mother, who said jitters and sorry to miss. The wedding itself, Charlie the last to arrive, whiskey on his tuxedo breath, his best man nudging him towards me like a beer. And the honeymoon, one of those pay-by-the-hour places just out of town. Charlie mixed up the Mai Tai from a gas station packet, ginger ale from a vending machine. It was noon, and Charlie still hadn't touched me. Saving himself is what he had said. I always wondered why he never wanted to kiss me, or why he even wanted to get married. It's not like he lost a bet. The pool, a skim of leaves and small insects, most of them dead, but some trying to make it to the edge. Guess what? No one swims here much, Charlie winked when he saw it, and when he walked me down the steps, cold, then colder, then cold. Let's walk in, up to our necks, Charlie said, taking my hand towards the deep part, where probably no other person had ever been. Wait here, he said. I just want to get my camera. Every so often, a stray couple wandered out through the motel door and dipped a toe in the pool. Every so often, a fly made it close to the rim, maybe 3 breaths left, his wings soggy and useless, now too heavy even for flight. Okay, thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to our host in the UK, the wonderful and lovely Meg Pokrass.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Francine. I'll read a summer piece as well. This piece is called Figs, and it just came out in the McNeese Review's Pride issue. Figs. She was eating fruit from her tree, gazing with those dark brown eyes. These figs are so ready, she said, eyeing me close. She touched my fingers. How sticky it felt when she focused on me, irises like fruit flies. You must be thinking I'm someone else, I wanted to say. Years have passed since then, and I wish I had softened, had taken her hand. We were young and everything tasted good. Instead, I told her it was getting late. I had to get home. Take some with you then, she said. I could smell myself sweating. I'm not worth picking, I thought, as I fluttered away. And back to you, Francine.
Thank you so much, Meg, and thank you for welcoming us into your lovely rose garden back there. Me, I'm stuck in my fake library here, but you're in a beautiful fake rose garden, so win-win.
We're all fake, but we're all fake here at the Prose Garden.
So we have some real great readers today. So thank you for that, Meg. First, I'm going to introduce Avitus Carle. She, her, lives and writes outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her stories have been published in a variety of places, including Fractured Lit, JMWW, Necessary Fiction, Sofo Pojo, and elsewhere. Her debut flash fiction collection, These Worn Bodies, was published by Moon City Press. She can be found at avituscarle.com or online everywhere at Avitus B. Carle. Avitus Carle.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. And thank you, Francine and Meg, for having me. I'll be reading two stories from my debut collection, which you can find here. One is exclusive to the collection, and the other was published by Francine and Soflo Pojo. So the first one I'm going to read is Subject, Where's Your Second Novel? And all the subsequent drafts I reply. In the queue waiting to print. In my printer, waiting for me to get more ink. In your inbox. Check your spam folder. Folded into hundreds of paper frogs, each reading The Adventures of Frog and Toad or humming excerpts from The Rainbow Connection. I can't work under these conditions. I can't write while my novel frogs taunt me, spitting my words at dead flies on the windowsill. My wife thinks I should take a break, collect my thoughts. She places my manuscript, the one with all your notes on green post-it slivers, in her bedside drawer, and by morning the whole thing's transformed into frogs. She rubs my back, says I'm stressed, I'm seeing things, says there's nothing there. I interrupt her, ask if she's read my manuscript, so it sounds like her response to my question is, there's nothing there. I start from scratch. The frogs hibernate. I start with I begin at the end, the middle, with the death of the main character. I admit that I am an imposter. The frogs come back. They take over my office. It would be rude to kick them out of their home. I go for a walk with my wife. I let the frogs type responses to your email, all of which I delete. The frogs only know the words in my novel. My wife asks me to tell her a story, not the one due to you, but one off the top of my head. I remember my grandfather balancing on lily pads and mocking snakes with his tongue. My wife wants me to write that story instead. The frogs do too. They have invaded our bedroom, though my wife still can't see them. The frogs exit out of Word while I try to apply your edits, hop on delete, backspace. Every time I try to save, they hop on enter, selecting no. I shred the frogs at Staples. Witness my words become so small, a child grabs them in her fists, throw them, and names my novel Snow. I cry on the couch. I cry with my head resting on my wife's lap. She promises everything will be okay, that I just need more time. I think about asking for more time, another extension, a chance to start a new project. I sleep in the farthest spaces from my computer, from you, from your email. My wife wants to go on a walk, says she forgot her wallet on her bedside table. Before I can grab it, I hear the chirpings of frogs. I wrap my hands around them and take them to my office. We settle in front of my computer, these new frogs and I listen to them croak the names I'd forgotten, the truth about my grandfather, those lily pads and snakes. Together, we write everything down until I hear my wife laugh behind me. She's not mad about the walk, though she's concerned about the frogs, but hopefully she'll understand. I hope you understand. I'm not sorry this took so long. Please see the attached and sorry about the mucus. You know how frogs are. All right. And my second story is To All the Boys We Never Kissed, which can also be found on Soflo Plojo. What we had was never love, affection, infatuation, lust. We are of an age where we can distinguish among them all just as we know the ways our lips can part. Not for you, but for them. For the boys we tried to love and those we did. for our husbands and lovers and boyfriends. Don't be sad. We remember you fondly. The boys with puckered lips while we leaned away. You who had the courage to be honest and say, I like you, or maybe I could be that guy, whispered on porch steps. As we pumped our legs on the swing set, our velocities never sinking, spoken after we shared our misunderstandings of relationships and situationships and friends with benefit ships, and believing we were the girlfriend when really we weren't. You who listened to us, and we laughed when you told us you loved us, like your honesty was a joke. And we playfully punched your arms, slipped you into the friend zone as easily as we do with loose change into tip jars at our favorite coffee shops, unaware we couldn't afford to lose you. We are selfish in our ways of needing, selfish in our wanting, and yes, we should have let you go. Should have been happy when you found someone who wants to be kissed by you instead of wondering why you stopped returning our calls or became busy with plans that no longer involved us. Why you hesitate to hug us. Why you say, sorry, we can't do that anymore. Like spending the day together or linking arms in public or holding us as we cry about the guys we've hated to love is the problem when we know the person you text when you think we can't see, they are the problem. Some of us learn how to be happy for you, for this new person you want to kiss, but some of us grow into our jealousy. We lurk in the virtual crevices of your social media feeds and wonder, what do you see in our replacement? How their hips are too wide and their laugh is too loud, and we'll remind you that clearly they're fake because no one is ever that happy. And we won't tell you we dream about plucking the hairs from their scalp, their unibrow, their mustache, their armpits, their legs, and imagine the moment you return to us and tell us how our replacement has changed, how you barely recognize them, and we'll tell you we know and that we understand. And you'll return to those of us who don't understand that you deserve to be happy, blinded by our love for you as a weapon to wield against the boys we've loved and wanted to kiss. You on our arm as we pass them by, pretending they are strangers to us, until we turn the corner and you ask what's wrong, unaware even after all this time that when we look at you, we are using you. To look to the boys we've kissed to see if they've noticed how happy, carefree, and unbothered we seem. If in the way their body moves when they walk farther away from us, if their eyes still search for us, if we've proven to the boys we've kissed that we will always have other options, to prove that if we are still good enough for you, surely we are good enough to be loved. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Avitus. That was really wonderful. And please make sure you have a link to where we can get your book or whatever in the chat. This is a wonderful book. These Worn Bodies, Moon City Press, which is wonderful press. And you won the competition for that. So awesome. Very awesome. And I encourage all the readers to put things in the chat, and also don't forget to read the comments, because I know you're reading, but people are just making all sorts of wonderful comments, and we really strongly encourage that. So thank you, Avitus Carle, for being with us here at the Prose Garden. All right, next we're going to move to Julia Strayer. Julia Strayer's stories are out in the world, living their best lives without any concern for her. They've collected a few awards and been listed in the Woodleaf Top 50 in the Best Small Fictions. She's a submissions editor at Smokelung Quarterly and teaches creative writing at New York University. Julia Strayer.
Well, thank you very much. And I do want to apologize that I have a cat behind me on the floor. I don't know if you can see her, but she is snoring very loudly. I'm going to keep with the frog theme and read you a story that was just published in Flash Frog. called Come On Down. My ex doesn't know he's my ex. I just packed and left, headed east for an hour. It's close to midnight and I'm cruising through a one-light town in his old Crown Vic on the way from nowhere to someplace better, and I spot a coin laundry, all its lights blazing. The laundromat is elevated 4 steps from the sidewalk like it's a fancy retail store or a fine restaurant. Ornate handrails, the whole of it thinking it's something special. Big calligraphy sign, spotlighted out front, and old-style hand crank washers in the windows. And I think how nice to elevate the everyday. My ex won't know until stars fade and the sun rises. He works the night shift at the carbon plant because it pays more than the day shifts, and he says we'll need the money for babies. But I'm too young for all that nonsense. I parallel park in front of the laundromat, behind a Chrysler LeBaron with doors a different color from the body. The rest of the street is asleep. I check the ashtray for quarters. My ex keeps them stocked for me. The moon is bright white, hanging high in the sky, the air still and cold, and off in the distance, a dog barks. But I'm too tired to argue. I pull the garbage bag of dirty clothes from the ocean of trunk. Laundromats are the night owls of stores, attracting the kinds of people who want to be near people but don't want to interact with them. Boundaries for those of us who believe in relationships as transactions, like a coin in a machine for wash and dry, candy bar, cigarettes, bag of chips, and a root beer. Things I can consume in a short time with no obligation. They don't stick around, and my whole life's been that way. Nothing's permanent. I drag the laundry up the steps, anticipating humid air, the smell of bleach and dryer sheets, the music of tumbling drums, but the door is locked. I peer through the window and it's not a laundromat at all. It's a goddamn furniture store. What am I supposed to do with that? I survey the quiet street, the car engine pinging as it cools in the night air. Nothing there for me in that town, so I sit on the top steps and exhale rings into the night air until I'm dizzy from too much oxygen. I pull a hairpin from my purse, long and thin, and bite off the plastic tips, wriggle it in the door lock until it clicks open, a skill I wish I didn't have. And I'm staring at recliners and sofas and hearing the tick of a wall clock. I pass 2 desks with nameplates on my way to a small bathroom in the back, and on the way out, I switch bread with Nancy and wonder how long it'll take them to notice in the morning. Maybe they're married. Maybe it'll spice things up for them. I sit on a couch facing a blank television, picturing my ex next to me, reaching for my hand, asking what channel, even though he knows I'm going to say the one with the game shows. We moved to a small cape, got married and pregnant, and it was all so fast. Nothing is ever what you think it'll be. Like buying a new dress and loving it until you've worn it and washed it a few times and the fabric pills, or it turns common like everything else in your life, and all you're doing is washing dishes day after day until you're watching The Price is Right and you hear the front door open and close and you look over and it's him. And he can't compete with Alice, who laughs too much when she spins the big wheel of numbers and is close to winning a new washer dryer set. And I want to see someone win something they don't expect. Maybe it's me, but that's how things go when you stay too long. I wasn't pregnant for long enough to hope things would work out, thinking this time I would stay, but not long enough to grow a complete human. I guess even my baby agreed it's best to leave while you can. I blame myself, but I don't have proof. My ex said, "These things happen, we'll try again," as if that changes anything. I can't see that far, and I want to sleep, and I want to fit into clothes I'll never fit into again, and I want to be the kind of person who stays, the kind of person other people talk about because of the way my husband still watches when I leave the room. But I only know how to get that with someone new. Like how clean laundry smells like anything can happen. People don't always win on game shows, but they still jump around happy as if spinning the wheel is enough. And what about all those people in the audience who aren't called to come on down? They don't get to win or lose. In the morning, my ex will be spitting mad about the missing car. One of the guys will drop him off at home after work and the driveway will be naked. He'll think the car was stolen. He'll think I'm still warm and asleep in bed. He'll be grateful that whoever stole the car didn't harm me. He'll think we still have time. The store is stifling and dry and smells of fabric chemicals. I can't stay. I stand on the top step and breathe in clean air and heft my laundry back into the trunk. I restock the quarters just as my ex had done, and I imagine what it must be like to hear your own name called out loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was just amazing. Wonderful. I want to, so thank you for being with us here at the Prose Garden today. Lovely. I wanted to take a moment to just thank some of the audience, give them a little shout out, because it's really nice of you to be here. Calliope Peleos, Jen McConnell, April Krasner, Mary Grimm, Jeff Harvey, Anthony, Margot Mertz, Valerie Fox, Patricia Bedar, Mina Chang, Andrea Marcusa, who's keeping an eye out for Zoom bombers. We thank her for that. Luella Lester, Gloria Mindock, Hugh Bames Steinberg, Bonnie Stanley, Charlotte Hemrick, Dan Dojin, and Allison Wassell. And if I missed you, please just put a note in the chat and I'll say hi to you afterwards. But I think, you know, yes, we have a star-studded lineup of readers, but it looks like we have a star-studded audience too. Just saying. Okay. And thank you for being here, everybody, today, because we know you could be elsewhere. All right. So next is Jennifer Wortman. Jennifer Wortman is the author of the story collection This is Love, 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 a recipient of fellowships from the NEA in McDowell. She lives with her family in Colorado, where she teaches at Lighthouse Writers Workshop and serves as fiction editor for Colorado Review. Jenny Wortman.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to continue with the frog theme. I will be reading a story from Flash Frog. Also, I'm getting over a case of COVID and I'm a little croaky. So ribbit, I might need to stop and clear my throat a little bit, but I will try to project. If you can't hear me, make it known. All right, so this is called The God of Tongues. One day, Ronnie Mahoney, walking to school with his buddy Will Naylor, whirled around and stuck out his tongue at me. At 7, I was old enough to understand the gesture's nuances. It could be playful or a big fuck you. Back then, I was very happy but didn't know it, and also very sad but didn't know it. Mostly, I walked around in this state of unknowing, trying to figure out the world. It had something to do with school, a hollowness I'd carried with me since kindergarten, where my parents' love used to be. They hadn't withdrawn their love. It hugged the hollowness and filled me elsewhere. But I now knew the world was bigger than their affection, and that bigness contained a loveless maw. My dad used to stick out his tongue and wag his fingers at me, his thumbs jammed below his ears, so his hands looked like misplaced antlers. I'd laugh and stick out my tongue back, but Ronnie Mahoney's tongue sticking had a meanness in it. He was 3 years older than me and therefore a giant. I'd always passed his notice. Now everything in his face said he wanted to hurt me, and that want to hurt was the hurt. It cracked open my chest. After that first time, even when I dragged far behind, Ronnie Mahoney would find a way to launch his tongue at me. He'd hide behind a tree or jump out from behind a car or just turn around and backtrack. I didn't tell my parents because I feared they'd confront him and he'd be mean to them too. The thought hurt even more than his meanness to me. The next year we moved across town and I switched to another school. I got on with my life, But I also spent the rest of it on some level, waiting for faces to split open and shoot at me a pink slimy thing. While I waited, that hollowness inside me grew. Over 30 years later, my dad newly dead, I was out in my hometown drinking even though I didn't drink anymore. But that drinking didn't count because my dad was dead and now nothing counted or would ever count again. After a countless number of drinks, I looked at the sad sack on the stool next to me, sagged over his beer. Even slumped and older and bearded and sideways, he rang the alarm of his existence. The little girl inside me wanted to run away, but the big girl inside me shook her head and knocked back the rest of her drink. "You're Ronnie Mahoney," I said. He wasn't a skinny boy, but now skinny arms poked out of his black t-shirt. He turned. "I'll be," Ronnie Mahoney said. "You're that girl." "I have a name," I said, but I didn't say it. Ronnie Mahoney stuck his tongue out at me, but in a fun way, like my dad. So I didn't cry, I stuck my tongue out right back, but that also made me want to cry. So I smiled, flirtatiously. Ronnie ticked his head at the rear of the room and walked off. I'd seen this move before from men in bars. I knew exactly what I shouldn't do in these circumstances, and I also knew I would do it. I followed him out the door into the alley. Then I was up against cold brick, Ronnie's tongue on and around and in my tongue. Tongue, tongue, tongue. I pulled away. "But why," I asked, "were you so mean to me?" Even in the low light of the alley, I saw his brows knit in confusion. I was just a kid. So was I. "I don't know, man," he said. "You had those piggy tails and those crazy big eyes you still got, but I don't remember why." "If you remember me, you remember why." "I mean, it probably felt good," he said, "then bad. Even back then, I liked to go back and forth. You know how people say people are mean, you know how they say people are mean to other people to make themselves feel good? I did it to feel good so I could feel bad." "No," I said, "it just made you feel good. I could tell. It was scary how good it made you feel." "You're on to me then. Do what you will." He thrust his arm sideways and dropped his head, fake crucified. I let him stand that way for a while, looking dumb. "What do you want from me?" he finally said. "I was a little brat, okay? Then I was a big brat. Now I'm a big nobody." That hurt more than anything else he'd said. He couldn't be a nobody. Ronnie Mahoney was the god of tongues. When I was a kid, he showed himself to me. If he was a nobody, then nobody was anybody. Even my dad, who I should have told about Ronnie Mahoney way back when, who I should have told many things my whole fucked up life so he could know me and still love me. Now he would never. I turned to leave. Ronnie Mahoney grabbed my arm. I whirled around, in his eyes again after all those years, that joyful, mean glint. I let his tongue demolish me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Jenny Wortman, that was wonderful. And we heard you just fine, but that just gives me a segue into inviting people to use the caption feature. It's down, should be down on your, your, whatever they call that strip at the bottom. Because I find it kind of fun to read along with when I'm hearing it. Anyway, so, but that was just wonderful, Jenny. And thank you for being here with us today in the Prose Garden. Jenny Wortman. Next, we're going to hear from David James Poissant, Jamie Poissant. He is the author of the novel Lake Life, a New York Times Editor's Choice selection, and The Heaven of Animals stories, a finalist for the LA Times Book Prize and the Penn Bingham Prize. His stories have appeared in The Atlantic, One Story, Plowshares, The Southern Review, Best Small Fictions, and elsewhere. He is the editor of the Florida Review. Jamie Poissant.
Thank you. Thanks, Francine. It's really wonderful to be here among so many friends and folks I've worked with. And I just got this book in the mail. Beautiful cover. I haven't read it yet. I'm not going to pretend I've read it yet, but I can't wait to dive in. The cover is gorgeous. I'm going to read something short and new. It's so fresh, it doesn't have a title yet. So I'm not kidding when I say if as I read this, if a title jumps out at you, throw it in the chat. I would love to call this something and send it out. All right. It was one of those drinking games. You go around the table and each person says which memory they'd borrow from a parent to embody, live through, see. Dusty said he'd be his father at Woodstock in order to catch the legendary Grateful Dead 5-song set. Sarah, another live music enthusiast, said she'd be her mother at the Beatles, Forest Hills Stadium, 1964. Riley said she'd rescue her drowning brother from a swimming pool, as her mother had, just to know how it felt to save a life. After all of which, Sammy, the quiet one, mentioned rather a little too offhandedly, we'd come to feel in retrospect, that if pressed to choose, he'd pick his parents at the moment of his own conception. When asked whether he'd rather be his mother and in this way have to envelope his father, or else be his father and penetrate his mom, Sammy, undeterred, suggested that if it weren't against the rules, he preferred to be both. First one, and then the other, so that he might see how it felt from either end. This shut the table up pretty good, and we drank in the dim light of Dusty's kitchen a while longer before Patty, never one to mince words, asked Sammy just what the fuck was wrong with him, and had he been dropped on his head as a child, and if so, how many times? But we were mostly on Sammy's side. Perverse as it sounded, there was something sacred, or if not sacred, sideways to sacred, to the thought of living at the center of your own creation, impregnator and impregnated, releasing and receiving, at once sperm and egg and the product and producer of both. Sacred if you overlook the optics of fucking your mother, of course. Intriguing, at least. Still, Patty wasn't having it. She dated Sammy in college and said he was bad in bed then, and what made him think he'd be any better seeing out his father's eyes while he did it. And soon as she said it, Patty clapped a hand over her mouth, and we all remembered how his father had died when Sammy was just a boy, the other driver asleep at the wheel. I'm sorry, Patty said. She hadn't meant to disrespect the dead, the father Sammy never got to meet. I'm sorry, she repeated. And we forgave her, waited to see if Sammy would forgive her. He did, by way of a story which he told, filling the little kitchen up with smoke. We all smoked in those days, the air thick as TV static minus the hiss, and we peered through this electric fog as Sammy sucked on the evening's final cigarette and absolved Patty with a parable. When Sammy was 10, a decade past the accident that claimed his father's life, his mother took him to a diner where they had lunch with a woman they'd just met. Sammy's mother had cried a lot, and Sammy couldn't remember what all the two women talked about, except that it came out in time that Sammy's father had been an organ donor. No one had told Sammy, on account of it might scare the boy, the idea of his father's organs filling someone's guts. 7 someones, it turned out. But Sammy was older now, old enough to know, and though the memory was fuzzy, though he hadn't divined precisely what was happening at the time, Sammy, placing at this point in the telling his hand on Patty's shoulder with all the grace and gentleness of an ex who, no matter how bad in bed, must have been, we decided, a pretty extraordinary boyfriend, Sammy said that at some point during that lunch, the woman who was not his mother had patted the seat beside her, And Sammy, at the stranger's behest, had moved close, closer, close enough. He'd felt his mother's hand on him then, felt her fingers in his hair as she pushed her son's face to the chest of the other woman. And there, Sammy heard, for the first time and the last time, the slow and steady beating of his father's heart. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was wonderful. Jamie Poissant, thank you for being here with us today. Wonderful to hear you. We have so much more wonderful stuff for you coming up right now. I'm going to turn it over to our Prose Garden host in the UK, the lovely Meg Pokrass.
Thank you so much, Francine. What great reading so far, my goodness. Next up is Roberta Beary. Roberta Beary writes to connect with other trauma survivors. A winner of the Bridport Poetry Prize, they are co-author of High Bun, A Writer's Guide, Ad Hoc Fiction 2023. Crazy Bitches is their first full-length prose poem collection, MacHugh 2025. The longtime High Bun editor for Modern Haiku, they call both Ireland and the USA home. Welcome, Roberta.
Thank you. Thanks, Megan, Francine, and all the readers and everybody who's joining us today. I'm going to read 3 short-ish haibun from Crazy Bitches. And haibun are basically prose poems that have haiku, modern English haiku interspersed or someplace in the poem. The first is somewhat of a sad perplexity. Summer of me at 15. My brother's smoking pot while our parents are at a political dinner for the other party, which we despise. I close my eyes and wait my turn, listen to the Blue Raincoat song on my mother's record player, smuggled into my brother's bedroom by me, I remind him. He hands me what's left in the roach clip. Bay window, a feral cat claws the view. Summer of me as an orphan. Even though we never talk about it, my brother has aged into a bumper sticker supporter of the other party. My husband says he likes my brother, but it's the principle of the thing. What about your cousins? I ask. For them, it's about tax breaks, but he's a true believer, my husband says. My brother messages a link to an Italian cover of the Blue Raincoat song. I message back 3 smiley faces. My phone pings. A red pulsating heart stares up at me, my brother's first emoji. Broken window, sunlight slips through unarmed. Summer of me as an expat. My husband's listening to the latest polls. The other party is ahead. I call my brother. He tells me the story again, father punishing us with the strap, mother deaf to our cries. That's when I realized we were on our own, he says. Do you know the Blue Raincoat was a Burberry, I ask. My brother switches the call to video. He's wearing the Aran sweater I sent and stroking his gray beard. Tell me more, he says. Window pane, the ants march 2 by 2. And the next one is, I write some riffs on nursery rhymes as in the haibun form. So this is, a lot of people always tell me how dark my writing is and send me names of therapists and everything. So this is my what I call humor. And so the title is, And So Between Them Both You See. Jack Spratt had grown increasingly worried about his missus. She tried all the fad diets, but the food chatter in her head persisted, her thoughts always on the next meal, which made Jack crazy. You'll eat us out of house and home, he remonstrated. Bickering crows, he decides not to ask. Jack was a man of few desires and could have lived happily on beans and toast and an apple for dessert. Still, the Sprats loved each other. When word came about an injectable that would silence the food chatter, his wife went straight to her GP. Sign me up, she demanded. Within a month, she had lost 1 stone, and within 3 months, she slipped on her decades-old wedding gown. Jack was delighted at first, but came to dislike his new glamorous wife, her weight loss videos, her 5 million followers. It was grand for Mrs. Spratt at first, but the millions lost interest when her beautiful round face turned gaunt and wrinkly, and she was unable to hide her baggy skin folds from the camera. Love charm, bits of blue thread also unraveling. I don't know who you are anymore, Jack told his emaciated missus. His wife was no fool. She went to her GP. Stop the injectable, she demanded. Almost immediately, the Sprats were back to their old ways, licking the plate clean between them. Bliss returned to their household under the watchful eye of the GP, who ordered a healthy lifestyle and 10,000 steps a day. The 5 million followers returned, which prompted even more fame, this time for Jack too. Likely you've seen their new reality series, Fat and Lean, A Recipe for Love. Cherry Blossom Rain, the swish, swish, swish of a dishcloth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roberta. Those were absolutely wonderful, and it both in very different ways. All right, thank you. Next up is Claudia Monpere. Claudia Monpere won the 2024 New Flash Fiction Prize from New Flash Fiction Review and the Genre Flash Fiction Prize from Uncharted magazine. She has stories in the Best Small Fictions 2024 and 2025, and in Best Microfiction 2025. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Megan, Francine, and thanks to all the wonderful writers here, both the ones who are reading and the ones who are here to listen. I'm reading 2 pieces. The first one is quite short. It's called Blink. The first unblinking baby is an anomaly. Facial nerve palsy, the doctors speculate, offering lubricating eye drops, soft tape for sleep. Soon all babies are born unblinking, their dark eyes gazing into their mother's face, faces of doctors, families, neighbors, our faces. Babies are supposed to be cute, but these wide eyes that never close, like snakes or sharks. We are glass. Our babies see every withered promise, every muddy heart. We scrutinize old pictures of sleeping babies, those half moons of closed lids, thick dark lashes brushing their orbicularis oculi muscle. We watch old videos of awake babies, splashing and babbling and blinking in the tub, licking plates of mashed squash, orange goo on their blinking lashes, wailing into a kitten's stuffy, blinking tears into its fur. We cradle baby dolls that kick their chubby legs, that coo and laugh and cry, that blink spontaneously. They are voiceless, our babies. No whimpers, cries, or giggles, just those huge dark eyes peering at us. Their rare smiles luminous as a snow moon rising over Denali Peak. Congressional meetings, Supreme Court hearings, presidential briefings. The babies are lined up in baby rockers, and their stares hold the future, our yesterdays trailing behind like a chain of rusty nails. This next one was published in the Indianapolis Review, and it's a series of emails. To editors at wearecreative.org. Subject, writing community. Dear editors, I choose you to be part of my new writing community. My wife loves my poetry, but is too busy to read it. You strike me as perfect for our email correspondence. Your rejection was kind and quick. The New Yorker took 294 days to respond. I'll begin with a question. Why does everyone get so worked up about cliches? What is clearer than crystal? Yours truly, George W. Barker, aka the poet, which they call me at work. Good morning, editors. It's been 2 weeks and you haven't emailed me back. I understand you may be busy, even though you're not the New Yorker or poetry. Please answer my earlier question about cliches, and here's a new question. Why do elites hate poetry that rhymes? My uncle once read me Paul Revere's Ride, and I believe this is one of the best poems ever written. Suspense, patriotism, good old-fashioned rhyme and meter. I bet those snotty editors, of course I'm not talking about you, know nothing about iambs and anapests. Yours truly, George W. Barker, aka the poet. Hello, editors. It's been a month. No response. But I won't be critical. I'm a nice guy. That's what they say at work. That's what my wife says too. I don't just take out the garbage and mow the lawn. I make dinners on Friday and I cook Sunday breakfast. Yours truly, George. Guys, not a word from you still. When you rejected my poems, you said you were grateful to read them. Was this bullshit? I'll have you know, I am a guy who knows a lot about language. I'm VP of marketing for a major insurance company. No, don't bother Googling me because I use a pen name when I write. George. Dear editors, I may have been too critical in my last email. I apologize. My wife says I have impulse issues. George. Hi, me again. I've been thinking about the meaning of life lately. Things have been rough. Can you please tell me which of these similes and metaphors are the best? Life is not a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. Life is not all monarch butterflies. Life is like juggling a phone, a biscuit, a razor, and a shoe all at once. Please write back. All best, George. Dear editors, I tried being nice. Now I'm furious. No tempest in a teapot. My anger is as hot as magma at the bottom of the ocean. You're disrespecting me. You may think you're too important to email me back, but you're low on Clifford Garstang's pushcart ratings, which I learned about from a guy at work because guess what? I lied. I'm not really VP of marketing. Some ass kisser stole that promotion from me, and now he's in an MFA program part-time. Po biz this, AWP that, he chants. He smirks at me when we talk poetry. Gee. Dear editors, this is my final question. If I answer, I promise you'll never hear from me again. My life is awful now. I've been fired. My wife moved out. Please, how can poetry help? Yours, George. Dear editors, that last email I sent was a test. If I really needed you, asked you a deep, heartbreaking question, would you be there? The answer was clear. I've been emailing for 68 days and have yet to hear a peep from you. However, you should know that in your neglect, you helped me see poetry's not for me. Have I 1, taken up the exciting sport of martial arts? 2, gotten a wonderful new girlfriend? 3, gotten a wonderful new job? 4, started bird watching with my cousin? 5, moved to a luxury beach home that I inherited from my uncle, who I barely knew, but who loved to discuss poetry with me during Christmas dinners. You'll never know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That was just wonderful. Oh my goodness, what a treat. Thank you so much. Both were great. Next up is Kathryn Kulpa. Kathryn Kulpa is a writer and teacher with work in Best Microfiction, The Best Small Fictions, Bowden, Flash Frog, Ghost Parachute, Had, and Milk Candy Review. She's a 2025 writer in residence at Linden Place in Bristol, Rhode Island, and her most recent chapbook is A Map of Lost Places, Goldline Press. Welcome, Kathryn.
Thank you, Meg. I'm humbled to have to follow that hilarious story. I'm gonna go with the summer theme and read a few pieces. The first one was in Flash Flood. We were lost and young, so young, and the world was young with us and offered nothing to guide us. The car bumped along a dark winter road, and we bumped along inside it. We only touched by accident. Streets passed without street signs, without street lights, no lights at all but the stars in the sky. Once I would have loved getting lost with him. Now I watched the gas gauge nervously, pulled at the seat belt that dug into my shoulder. The radio faded between stations. The only part of the car that worked reliably was the heat, blasting a dragon's breath of stale popcorn and skunked beer. I cracked my window, wiped the fogged glass with my jacket sleeve. Dark shapes passed, as if the whole town was sleeping, and then I saw a house, all alive and brightly lit. Doors open to the night, flooded with orange light. A barn, and inside, the shape of a horse. Stop, I said, and the man I wouldn't marry laughed, asked if I wanted to ask the horse for directions. And I did. I had never wanted anything so hard in my life as I wanted to leap from the car and run to that lighted barn. Whatever that horse told me, I would believe him. The man I wouldn't marry kept driving. Eventually, we found a ramp for the highway, a highway he would take in another direction someday, with a woman who wasn't me. I don't remember the day he left. I don't remember our last fight. I only remember that night, how lost I felt. I remember the wanting, the campfire glow of that doorway, like it was there to welcome me home. A dark night, a lonely barn, a horse in the moonlight, waiting. And my next one is called I Don't Like Anybody. This was just published in Your Impossible Voice. It's August, Saturday, and we're tired of summer. Watching Creature double feature on Channel 56. Me and Danny and Angie, seeking refuge from the heat in my downstairs den, crowded on the couch my dad calls the indomitable couch. It's brown, heavy vinyl that sticks to your legs. Dog hair brushes off. Spilled drinks slide off. Nothing can make it uglier than it is. On the TV screen, a sea monster is swimming to shore. The sea monster looks something like a T-Rex and something like a frilled lizard, with ears that bounce like a dog riding in a car. The shore is lined with tanks and rocket launchers to keep back the sea monster, as if. Angie flips a Rubik's Cube. Danny and I pass a game of hangman. We've already filled in the stick man's arms and legs, but Danny grants a stay of execution by adding a stick dick. Angie hears us laughing and sings that stupid song about sitting in a tree. Why are you such a doofus? I ask her, and she puts on a know-it-all smirk. You like him, don't you? She always does this, making me pick a boy I like, threatening to tell Smelly Todd I like him if I don't choose somebody, and then telling the boy I like him, so he'll either avoid me or follow me around at recess, but either way, it's weird. I don't like anybody, I say, and Danny's face goes sort of stomach punched, even though I only meant I don't like anybody her way, and he's my best friend, and why does Angie have to win at everything? The sea monster's head rises above the water, frilled ears streaming. She roars, bullets blast, rockets roil the waves. The sea monster keeps on. She's coming to rescue her baby. A bomb goes off, mushroom cloud rising behind the sea monster. But we all know nothing's going to keep her from getting to shore. And I have one more. And this was published in Trampsat, and it's called Debts You Haven't Paid. 1. The girl in first grade with the big glasses that took up half her face and one lens was smogged over because she had lazy eye and you asked to borrow her milk money to get chocolate milk, and she said she only had enough for one, but she'd give you her milk if you'd be her friend, and you said you would, and you sat with her that day in the cafeteria, but never again. 2. The man in the orange prole cap and the white pickup who followed you for miles on the state highway, making weird hand gestures out the window, and you thought rapist, you thought serial killer, and would have called 911 if your phone wasn't dead, but instead, you took an exit quick with no signal, and he followed you into the Wawa parking lot, and as you were looking in the glove box for the pepper spray your stepmom gave you when you moved out, he yelled, "Your car is on fire!" And you got out, and it really was. But he drove away before you could thank him. 3. Student loans. That year you haunted the bursar's office waiting for the funds to be released. It was the summer of the big heat wave, when all the old people in Europe died, and you thought you would die too in your third-floor off-campus apartment. And then the loan money finally came through, and there was just enough left to buy the last air conditioner in Walmart, and you were putting it in your window when it slipped from your sweaty hands and bounced on the sidewalk, just missing your downstairs neighbor who was walking home. And you sank to your knees in that stifling little room and cried until your neighbor knocked on your door, AC in his arms, dented but intact, and he put it in the window for you, where it wheezed like an asthmatic bulldog, but still worked. And the day after that, when you weren't sweaty and sobbing, you knocked on his door with a plate of brownies. But he was gone. All of a sudden, your landlady said something about a visa. 4. The chatty coworker with Disney princess sweatshirts and squirrel teeth who had everything you didn't have, a husband and a car that didn't drop pieces of itself all over the road, and you were short on rent and asked to borrow $500 from her, and then you got another job and were supposed to meet for coffee to pay her back, but then your dog got sick and you ghosted her and have ghosted her since. 5. And now, this kid you have, after all the pills, after all the tests, after all the calendars with angry red X's drawn through 1 week each month, drawn so hard the paper punctured, and let's not even do this, you told him. Maybe we shouldn't even have a baby. The world is shit anyway. It's useless to try. And then it wasn't, and you lay in bed 2 months out of 9 waiting for payback, waiting for karma, and now this kid is staring at you with eyes like a helix nebula, reaching for you with hands like starfish, and you want to tell her, no, you are a crap person and will probably be a crap mother, but that's not what she needs from you. She is a planet, and you are her sun, and all you can do is shine for her regardless. Shine in all your imperfect light. Thank you.
Mm, those are absolutely beautiful, Kathryn. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Amy Barnes. Amy Barnes is the award-winning author of Mother Figures, Ambrotypes, and Childcraft. Her words appear at the Rumpus, In Short, Literary Namjuning, Smokelong Quarterly, X-Ray Lit, Et Review, and many other sites. She's an editor at Fractured Lit, Ruby Lit, and Gone Lawn, and also reads and teaches for Narratively. Welcome, Amy.
I do not have frogs, but I do have a baby in this story. This is organ donor that was at the Rumpus earlier this year. Organ donor. When she turned 50, Darla chose a bucket uterus. Her barren neighbor Eloise needed a replacement, so Darla donated hers. Darla felt too old for a child unless a biblical miracle happened. Pastor Jenkins loved miracles, but he also encouraged women to help other women. He counseled Darla to help Eloise, and that was that. The trade was arranged. The bucket uterus didn't feel heavy in the doctor's office. It had a handle for insertion and removal. A plastic surgeon offering a plastic uterus, Darla muttered about the irony. She was offered other replacements. A pink balloon, Tupperware with a lid, a small safe, a whoopee cushion, and a hot water bottle like the one her mother hung on the bathroom door. The bucket was only slightly heavier than the silicone breast implants she also contemplated briefly. I'm doing this pro bono, the doctor reminded them both. Darla knew that meant she should pick the cheapest option. She always chose the cheapest option, but a bucket did feel like the fun yet practical choice. And so it was decided. Consent forms were signed and a double surgery date was chosen. Recovery was quick for both women. Eloise's husband sat between their hospital beds in a red plastic chair. A local news channel interviewed the three of them. How did you decide to make this donation? The reporter asked. Because I wanted a baby, Eloise interjected. Darla pretended she was tired and closed her eyes as the reporter chatted with Eloise, who was wearing a lacy robe and a full face of makeup. Darla suspected Eloise called the news reporter herself. After the first day in the hospital, Darla turned her TV volume up so she didn't have to have conversations. I'll bring you my extra zucchini, Eloise said. Eloise already often gave Darla paper bags full of her prize-winning zucchini. It's a body part, a one-time donation. I'm not replacing my intestines with garden hoses, even if you bake me zucchini bread, Darla said. Eloise went back to cuddling her balding husband. He seemed indifferent, and Darla honestly thought he might have preferred Eloise kept her broken uterus. I'll be pregnant before you know it, Eloise said to no one in particular. Darla knew Eloise would bake that zucchini leaf and they'd eat it together. She took a deep breath and let Eloise enjoy the gifted uterus because that's what good women do when they give gifts. No strings, only joy for the person receiving the gift. Both women went home to cookie cutter houses bought from the cookie cutter catalog of homes, each press cut and baked to a homeowner's specification. 2 weeks later, Darla discovered her bucket uterus was the upgraded version when she emptied it out. She fretted for a moment about possible surprise extra charges. She had been given a brief yet thorough set of instructions from the surgeon to keep on her bedside table. She wondered what Eloise's instructions were. Open the plastic door in your abdomen carefully, remove the bucket, dispose of the bucket's contents in the provided medical hazard bags. Instead, Darla emptied the bucket over Eloise's garden after it got dark. She figured she was doing the zucchini a favor, and they did grow inexplicably like Jack's beanstalks afterward. Eloise had once entered them in the state fair contest and won a second-place red ribbon. Darla had entered a quilt and afghan that also won ribbons, but somehow the bread was more important. The next month, when Darla removed the bucket on schedule, it was empty. She shook it and ran her finger around the inside, but not one red drop fell on the vines and the yellow-orange blossoms. She put the bucket back inside its little abdomen door after reattaching plastic tubing. Eloise was at Darla's door when the same sun came up the next day. I have news, she said. It's 6 a.m., Eloise, Darla said back. I'm pregnant, Eloise blurted. My cucumbers are doing the best ever, and we're having a baby. Congratulations, Darla said. And she meant it for the cucumbers and for Eloise. The two women sat down together, one patting a baby bump and the other a bucket one. They sipped their tea and ate sliced zucchini bread off of Darla's delicate floral wedding china. After a socially acceptable time of chatting about babies and baby cucumbers and a little bit about yarn and fabric scraps, Eloise walked back home. Darla took the bucket out of her abdomen for what she thought was the last time. It was still empty, and she hung it on a hook in her kitchen. She knew Eloise would need it to gather her cucumbers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was amazing. Thank you. My goodness. Next up is Jenny Stalter. Jenny is a writer and former private chef. Her work was selected for the Best Small Fictions 2024, and she was a recipient of the 2023 Smoke Long Quarterly Emerging Writer Fellowship. Her fiction appears in Longleaf Review, Moon City Review, Citron Review, Cease Cows, Ghost Parachute, and other publications. She has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize, Best of the Net, Best Microfiction, and the Best American Short Stories. Welcome, Jenny. Oh, if
Hi.
Jenny. Hi. You unmuted? You are unmuted. I just can't see you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you are. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I am going to read, oh, I can't find it now. Sorry. 1 second. Oh, I lost it. I don't have it written down. I don't know how to minimize this.
Is it, did you lose the document on your
I
screen?
did, yeah.
That's frustrating. Take your time.
I am so sorry. Okay.
Nope. Oh, these things happen all the time. Just take
Oh
your
my goodness.
time.
If I can just jump in here while Jenny is getting that all set. I just happened to peek and the Wigleaf Top 50 is out. And I want to congratulate Patricia Bedard and Mary Grimm for being the top 50. Yeah, and some other of the readers, Claudia, you're on the long list. I think Amy Barnes is on the long list. I could be wrong, but check it out. You know, like you probably can't wait to do it right now, but yeah. So I just wanted to share that good news for people. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, so I have my document. Sorry, guys. This is called Cathedral and will be in the next issue of Ghost Parachute on the 1st. I threw the first punch this time. I'm venomous. I drink. I levitate. Yesterday it was the dishes. Today it's the trash, all the wine bottles. Jovi's always mad about something. I throw the bottles. What if the baby crawls on the glass? What if the glass is stuck to my hands and I cut the baby when I pick him up? Empty wine bottles littering the house, thrown against the wall, exploding into fantastic constellations, catching the light, glittering stars on the floor, like the world is upside down. It makes me think of prayer, cathedrals with stained glass. As a child, I always wondered what it would be like to shout right in the middle of the Mass. The music would stop, the people would turn and stare. Someone would be red-faced and angry and say, "What the hell is wrong with you?" and take me away. Maybe someone, probably an old woman in clean pressed clothes, would cry. Now I'm actually screaming in the most sacred place, around the baby, under the baby, inside the baby's head for 10, 20, 80 years until he is an old man and closes his eyes for the last time, because that is the kind of trauma that stains. Yesterday it was the dishes. Today it's the trash. All the wine bottles. Jovi's always mad about something. I drink. I levitate. Jovi's always sorry, especially if things reach the most dramatic possible conclusion. That's the only way Jovi ever sees anything. He pulls me over the edge with him. My therapist uses the term reactive abuse. My women's group says my abuser has turned me into one. You just have fleas, they say, like when you lie down with dogs. And I think my hands, my arms must be made of broken glass, and surely I will cut the baby. Surely I will never be able to hold the baby again. Shush now, the women say. We've all been there. You can get better. I pray they are right as they take turns hugging me with their soft, scarred arms. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Wow, what a reading this has been. Amazing, amazing, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful readings. Back to you, Francine.
Oh, thank you so much, Meg. And you know, I was talking to Meg before we let everybody on, and I said, Meg, let's try not to fangirl too much over this collection of readers, but it's hard not to. It's been really wonderful hearing all of you. And so once again, we want to thank everyone in the audience for you know, your kind attention and all that. And the readers, Avitus Carle, Julia Strayer, Jenny Wortman, Jamie Poissant, Roberta Beary, Claudia Monpere, Kathryn Kulpa, Amy Barnes, and Jenny Stalter. You were all wonderful and just set our summer on a good note. And I think the Prose Garden will be back in the fall. We haven't really talked about that, but I think we should take the summer off and let things grow, let things, soil marinate and all that. So I want to thank you again, and join us again in the fall in the Prose Garden, and drive safely. Good night.
Good night, everybody.